My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your co-host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for Dave Dubow. And, a lot of times people, when they're doing real estate, they're having to choose between one or the other. And a lot of times it's that we have to keep that job for whatever reason, mortgage, bills. And when you're getting started, you might have to balance two. But, there's an old adage of burning the boats. And today on the show, we've got Kayla Pennington, and she's going to tell us a little bit about how she gave up the high-paying job with a W-2 to get into real estate. And interestingly, before the call, she told me she got the money. So, Kayla, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Pretty good, pretty good. It's been a busy day at the office. So, yeah,
Good.
tell us. Let's start with that. On the original intake form, I'm looking at it, and you're saying I'm trying to raise money, and I'm reading through it. However, we get on the call and you're like, I got it. So tell everyone about that experience of raising the capital for that deal.
Sure. So one of the best pieces of advice that I got early on when I started investing in real estate was tell anybody and everybody what you're doing. Chronicle it on Instagram, even if you don't have a huge following, make a Facebook page, let family and friends know, tell family and friends to tell family and friends. And so that's really what I did. I just started chronicling, on stories. Hey, here's what I'm doing. I would talk about the really good stuff and then also the bad stuff, contractor issues, people not showing up, replacing an HVAC day one. So all those kinds of things. And then so people started messaging me and saying, hey, what are you doing? You quit your job. And I was at a career for 15 years. So people all of a sudden were like, wait, why did you leave? And what are you doing now? So it was just such a shift, I think, to people that weren't in my close circle. And so it just opened up a lot of conversations to talk about real estate and what I wanted to do. And then honestly, naturally, a lot of people started saying, well, if you ever want to, need money, let me know. And this is about 8 or 9 months ago when somebody said that to me. And I was like, you know what? I definitely will. But I want to do some of these on my own at first. And I had been since 2015. So a few months ago, I just kind of posted on Instagram, would anybody be interested in partnering with me? Just not equity partnership, but just private money lenders. So I can do really fun house projects, make ugly houses pretty. And I had bought one on my own with a partner, and we were chronicling that flip. We truly tore the house down to the joists. And so it basically was a new build. And so people were like really like involved in this, and it was a very big deal, very overwhelming to kind of start from scratch. And so people got really invested in that. And so I had probably 10 or 15 people immediately respond to me and say, hey, I would give you money, or hey, I've got money sitting in savings, or hey, we sold our house and we have this extra cash, we'd definitely be interested. So that's kind of where it started. Then we found the house and we thought, you know what, here's an off-market deal. We want to buy this all in cash. It's this minor rehab. And so this would be a good, less risk, I think, than what we were doing on our own, which was a total flip from the bottom up. And so I put it back on Instagram and said, hey, for those of you who reached out, I texted and emailed the ones who had originally said, ended up getting about 13 people. We were overfunded. So I had to kind of pick and choose, which was hard. And then communicate to those, hey, I'm going to be doing many more projects. I still want your money. Don't spend it. I'll be in touch with you soon. So I sent the promissory notes yesterday and this morning. So I have most of them signed. I think I'm waiting on like 1 or 2. And then we close on November 14th and we'll start the renovation project hopefully the week after that.
One thing that came to mind, if you wouldn't mind me giving just my 2 cents on that, if you're having an abundance of money, I'm sure you're aware that you can make money on that money and then raise more money. So, if you can't use it, there's other investors likely in your marketplace that you can mark up or fee out that money and still deploy it for your clients if you want to make sure that money's deployed, because you may not have another deal. They may put it into another deal, but you can monetize periods of abundance of capital by putting it into deals with people you trust. with
Yeah, so
people you
that would be the
trust.
key for me.
Yeah, because you don't
Is
want to just
people,
like
yeah.
throw it out there and be like, oh, now the money never comes back. So
Yeah.
I know an investor who does that, and he does some minor, I guess you'd call it referral lending. So he's making money on
Okay.
other people's money that he's raised but can't necessarily capitalize in this moment. So that's interesting.
That
For
is
people listening
interesting.
at home, what market are you participating in right now?
Sure. So mostly Louisville, Kentucky. My primary residence is Nashville, Tennessee, and I do have property there. But with the rising rates and just the
Yeah.
market, I mean, Louisville is. I'm from Kentucky originally, not far from here, so I know the
Hmm.
market really well. And the prices are just, I mean, goodness, less than half of the Nashville market. So
Yeah.
it's been really great to be able to buy. I think we bought 5 properties since January here, and I met a business partner here, so we've done some joint properties together. So it's just kind of
Hmm.
worked out to purchase in Louisville.
Yeah. People definitely have to live somewhere, right? You can't, not everyone can live in the big cities or do necessarily they want to. So, um, did you get started in Nashville? Is that where you bought your first property?
Yeah, so I bought my primary house there in 2014, and I ended up actually Airbnb-ing that for in 2015 for 3 years. This was kind of before house hacking was really talked
Hmm.
about, or before Airbnb blew up in Nashville. It was right on that cusp. There was like no rules. I literally could just like sign a paper, and the
Yeah.
fire marshal came and made sure I had smoke detectors, and bam, next thing you know, I had a permit. And it wasn't saturated. And I was like, wow, this is really lucrative. And
Hmm.
then the same year, I bought a long term rental,
Hmm.
and I rented that for 4 years. Ended up renovating that, um, selling it. Didn't really plan on selling it. Had kind of an all cash offer at a number that I threw out, and they agreed to it, and we made about 6 figures on that. So it was hard at that time to
Wow.
turn down.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah.
you. So I was like, hey, I can do this. And I had my W-2 at the time. So it didn't feel risky, really. Um, and that's kind of where it started. Yeah.
Started like you got a taste of what it could be, and you're looking at your W-2 and you're thinking, well, if I gave myself the same number of hours in a week, what could I do? That's the
Hmm.
real moment that a lot of people look at. Is it's interesting how people will work so hard for somebody else, but when given the opportunity to work for themselves, suddenly 40 hours a week is too much. So as long as you,
Yeah.
grind it out and stay consistent, that's really like the trade. So what ultimately that deal helped you like kind of nudge it, but you must have been thinking about that already as you've been in real estate and the Airbnb money coming in, and you're like,
Hmm.
what was the thought as you approached, leaving your job? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people who were surprised, especially after you said, forgive me, was it 11 years or 15 years?
It was 15 total, but 13 at that company.
There you go. So
Yep.
13 years in anything, and people are like, oh, why?
Yep. So good question. When I first got into real estate, the Airbnb thing was like a total accident. I was like, oh, I've
Uh-huh.
always liked real estate. Like Airbnb is not really blowing up here yet. Like, why can't we just like do it here? So that
Mhm.
was a total accident. And then I thought, this is going really well. I love real estate. My mom and I always looked at properties growing up, and I thought this is so fun. But I never really thought about quitting my W-2 at the time. I still loved my job.
Mhm.
And I had gotten promoted right around the time that I bought that first long-term rental, and my plan was to buy one property a year. Like that was it. I could easily do that with the commission and just buy one, do long-term rent. Nashville has crazy appreciation rates, and so I thought if I just
Mhm.
do one a year, oh my goodness, after 10 years, I'll be set. Well, I got a promotion right around that time, and it was a very stressful promotion. Um, there's a lot of politics involved in that I won't bore you with. And so it consumed my life. And
Mhm.
I don't really have a lot of regrets. But one of the things that I wish I would have done was stuck to my real estate plan while I was still at the W-2, because then I would have had multiple properties when I left. And that wasn't the case. So what made me leave truly was, you don't quit jobs, you quit leaders. And that's
Mhm.
true in my
Yeah.
case. We had very toxic leadership. And um, I was very close with our executive team, and I had talked to them about it and was very clear and very open about what I saw and what I witnessed and how I felt. And their perspective was very different. And
Yeah.
so I have mad respect for those folks. But the management between them and me, I couldn't get on board with. And I felt like, to your point, I was working for someone else's dream. and was climbing that corporate ladder, was making more money than I ever thought I would ever make. I almost doubled my income after that promotion. And so it was the golden handcuffs, and it was so difficult to leave.
Yeah.
And I had freedom, and I worked remotely. And that's what's crazy. It's like I had all the freedom. I wasn't micromanaged. It was just such a toxic, negative environment. And my success became a negative in the company. And it was like, hey, now you're making too much money. We want to give you more responsibility, and we want to cut your pay ultimately in half. And so
Wow.
every year they started cutting my pay, cutting my pay. And I kept performing and making more money. And then they were drastically cutting the pay, drastically cutting the pay. And I thought to myself, I want to be like one at a company that rewards high performers and is happy
Hmm.
for my success, or work for myself where I can dictate, my dreams and what I care about. And so ultimately, yeah, I just didn't really have a plan of quitting. I just went to lunch with the president of our company. We had a very difficult conversation, and I just like spouted out over lunch, I'm quitting. I've got to go. And he was like,
Hmm.
no, no, think
Please
about
don't
it till,
go.
he was like, think
We'll
about
we'll
it till
fix
Monday.
everything. Yeah.
He's like, give yourself 5 days. And I said, honestly, I have given this 18 months. And if I don't leave now, then I probably never will. And the golden handcuffs will forever like strangle me. So that was it. I quit that day, and they asked me to stay for 60 days, which I gladly did, and never looked back. And that was the end of July of 2021.
Yeah, because there's something interesting that you said was, I want to work in an environment that admires high performance, and that winning and doing a good job is encouraged. And I was thinking, well,
Mm-hmm.
that sounds a lot like real estate investors, because once you go
Mm-hmm.
out there, you're
Yeah.
kind of surrounded, like the peers in your business. You get to know, you go to see a property that's private with a wholesaler, and there's so and so, and you're standing around and like, who's going to
Mm-hmm.
buy this thing? So
Yeah.
um, I hope that you're getting that feeling, because that is an important part of, pursuing something, and especially someone who's a high achiever. It's nice to get a pat on the back instead of like a cut in pay. So
Yeah.
um,
Exactly.
you raise some capital,
Mm-hmm.
and you've been blessed to get an abundance of it. The It sounds like you're going to be able to fund most of what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
What is the challenge now? It sounds like everything is going relatively good.
I think the challenge, well, to your point of being a high achiever, you always want to do more.
Mhm.
So not having shiny object syndrome and making sure I'm staying on task.
Yeah.
And then making sure I can pay back my private lenders. I think that's always a stress. I don't want to ever take money from people and not be able to repay it. So
Hmm.
making sure that we do a good job. So really right now, it's getting bids from contractors next week. That's our plan. We really want to try to stick to just one contractor for most of the project if we can do it. We've piecemealed before, and it's not really gone as great as we would have liked, and ended up not really saving money. So we really want to
Hmm.
try to find the right contractor for this project who we can trust, who shows up. So that's going to be kind of, I think, the next tackle to have. I wouldn't say that I have somebody off the top of my head here that I feel like I totally trust that would do the job. So that's going to
Hmm.
be expanding that network is going to be very key for me to be able to scale as well. Um, and then finding the next deal. I think that's always, the battle in this market, finding the next deal, finding the next off market, finding a creative financing deal, a sub two, a wrap, where we can bring cash to the table and private lenders and be able to help people, right? Help them get interest every month, and so that have their money work for them while they're too busy, and being
Hmm.
able to kind of benefit and bless other people while we're able to grow and scale. So those are probably the two main things that I'm focused on moving forward.
Yeah, being a steward of the money, making sure that it gets deployed and earns interest and gets returned. So,
That's the right.
are you are planning to expand outside of your market? Are you gonna increase your marketing efforts? How do you plan to kind of get over some of those challenges that you mentioned?
Sure. So I would like to purchase in Nashville, if not like more of the outskirts of Nashville,
Hmm.
because the prices there are so expensive. The suburbs are actually very pricey now as well as people start moving out. So really, I'm somewhat working on a wrap mortgage creative financing deal, which has been one of my goals as well, is to do something creatively that I haven't got to do yet. So yes, I would like to expand there. I am open to other markets 100%, but because I don't have a full-time job, because this is my career, I really want to be as hands-on as possible right now because I have the luxury of time that a lot of people who have their W-2s don't
Yeah.
have. So for me, and I'm someone who learns by doing. Like that is just my personality. I can't read about it. I can't like listen up to a podcast. I have to like just jump in and do it. And so for me, I really want to be in the market or close enough to drive to the market to where I can be hands-on for now. I don't think that's going to be my forever strategy, but
Mm.
definitely right now because I do have the time, and I can dedicate pretty much every hour in the day to doing that.
Does
So
that
yeah,
mean,
that's it.
you know, putting on the painters and getting in there and painting the thing, or do you mean like staying on top of the painters, like making sure that they're
Yeah,
doing the
staying
thing?
on top of the project, really being the project manager. My
Hmm.
partner is a chiropractor, and she's starting her own business, and she's really building that up as well. So while she's definitely available, she does have something else, and I
Yeah,
don't. So
you're
as
like
much as I can be,
the manager, the general manager on site when you have to be there taking those phone calls. Um, when I was thinking about that in particular, I was thinking, where where did you get your education, or what books and things like that? Like, how did you learn what you know so far, or has that just been an experience thing?
yeah, I mean, I love the quote, experience is the best of teachers. And do you learn? My God, do you learn? Because it's so true.
Hmm.
So when I started out in 15 and 14, I mean, that was 100% just jumping in and saying, I got to risk it. Um, I have no idea what I'm doing. I mean, I've stayed in an Airbnb before, so like surely I can
Hmm.
host one. I think that was kind of my mentality was like I can do anything. So that was where that started. Now that I'm trying to grow and scale, I think having a business partner has been awesome. Just she's
Hmm.
done some different things than I've done, so we I think have complement each other well. I joined a group from Instagram, made some Instagram friends, the Wire community. So I went to a retreat in March and met a ton of other investors, which is actually how I got introduced to my current partner here in Louisville. Went to BPCon last week, the Bigger Pockets conference. So yeah, listened to lots of podcasts, some audiobooks, and talked to a lot of people. And then, like I said, I'm just someone who has to jump in and learn and be hands on and do. And I think when you so much social media and so many books and so many podcasts and so many
Hmm.
influencers out there, it can be analysis paralysis, it can be comparison, it can be actually really toxic for growth. And so for me, I've had to balance, how much do I want to learn from other people, get a mentor, there is benefit in all of those things, but then how much is it just making action and doing? And
Right.
I'm trying to find the right balance for me in doing both of those things.
How much do you feel like, it sounds like networking has been a big key? You know, when you tell the story, I'm thinking, okay, she went here, met this person, went here, met this
Mm-hmm.
person. Podcasting in a way like today, we're talking here and we're networking to some degree, but how much of your W-2 career has helped you really lay that groundwork within the networking? Because we were talking a little bit before the call, but if you care to tell people what industry you were in, but
Sure.
that's not up to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I was in healthcare technology software sales. So I worked for the largest education company, healthcare education company. So we trained nurses and doctors. So I was in front of clients 3 times a week on site, worked with a lot of doctors, a lot of clinicians, and a lot of executives, high level people in organizations. And a big part of sales is networking, right? It's getting
Yeah.
people to trust you. It's getting people, telling people the hard no's, telling them when it's actually not a right move to buy something, when it is a right move to buy something, challenging preconceived notions, a lot of contract negotiation. I mean, I was asking for $8 and $10 million contracts back then. So
Hmm.
the raising money for me isn't as scary in the sense of that's a lot what my career was I asked people for money and told them to trust me with their money for years. Now, granted, was I personally putting it in my bank account and spending it? No, but I was there for years after they bought the product and had to make sure they were integrated and they were affecting their bottom line and they were saving them money. And if I couldn't show those ROIs, I mean, they were going to be ticked at me. So it wasn't just like a small thing; it was a big thing. So I think my sales career and the confidence I had in public speaking and in negotiation and writing contracts and truly just navigating major healthcare organizations and having to get people from the whole organization to
Hmm.
talk and work together was a big part of what I did. I was almost like an external liaison for people to talk internally. And I think that's a big part of what networking is and a big part of what real estate is, especially as you try to scale. So I think it was everything. I don't think I'd be anywhere where I am or as confident as I was to jump ship if I hadn't had that job.
Yeah, it's like the human nature business. You can take sales everywhere. So
Yeah,
I feel like it works really well in real estate as, it is the confidence that people are attracted to, because if they were confident, they'd probably be investing their own money. So
exactly.
we have to kind of lead them through that thing. So with where you're at now, where do you see your business going, and your capital raising going, let's say over the next 5 years? Where do you want it to go?
Sure. Well, I'd love to raise millions, honestly. I'd love to find the deals to need to raise millions, truthfully. I've done a little bit of midterm rental, which I absolutely love. I've done long-term Airbnb and flips. So I've kind of done a little bit of everything. So right now we're under contract for 3 new properties. Two will be long-term rent, possibly midterm, and then one will be a minor rehab with Airbnb, but it's a commercial space. So I'm so excited because it's zoned commercially, excuse me. So we have endless opportunities here and we have some really cool things. So I think eventually where my capital raising I want to come to play is Louisville has a major affordable housing crisis. And
Hmm.
one thing that I would love to do is help that. And one way that we have been looking at with an architect is to do a tiny home community on
Yeah,
this
those are
commercial.
tough to those have traditionally been tough to get through to the city.
Yep.
The city's not super interested in what is kind of like a mobile home park.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Ours,
convey the message. The people in that bureaucracy are typically older. They want foundations. They
mhm,
want, you know, 1,000 square foot, 800 square feet. And
yep.
when you say I'm going to build a something that can be moved away, not all of them, but smaller homes, 400 square feet, 350 square feet. How do
hmm
you how do you plan to navigate that conversation when it comes down to it?
Sure. All great questions. Not sure yet. I think that we would do more of a luxury type of tiny home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do, um, for lack of a better word, I don't want to do a crummy community. I don't. It's in a very gentrified area, so I think
Mm-hmm.
it fits where it's at. It fits where people can afford and want to live, but just there's not options right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's one idea we have. We also have an idea to just do a multifamily, or do less homes, but do like a community of like 4 to 6 homes on the property and have a courtyard in the middle. The house is kind of a line on each side. And then the front house that we have right now that we're going to renovate, actually rent that out as a commercial space. So it could be a coffee shop or a dog groomer for the people that live on the property. So we have lots of ideas there. It's a great, like long, skinny, beautiful tree lined property. So the good news is because it's commercial, we have about 500, a list of like 500 things it can be with no permitting. So we could
Yeah.
add a bed and breakfast. We could do multifamily. We can do lots of really cool things. So I think going through that list as well and seeing what are our true options where we know it'll be approved and
Mm-hmm.
what makes the best sense for the affordable housing community that we want to serve. And also, financially, it has to make sense for us as well. But either way, the long-term goal for that property we will need to raise, I would assume, in the millions to do whatever
Yeah.
we decide for that property.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, money, I always say that money isn't really the lack of supply, it's ideas. So I'm glad that you're attacking it from the right side, which is ideas. The money will
Mm-hmm.
follow. So that's great. So now if people they want to, find out more and connect with you, talk about these projects, or, get in touch with you, what should they do?
Sure. So my Instagram is just Kayla Pennington. Just my full name. That's where pretty much all my information is. I'm actually going to be putting a Google form on there as well, and a link in my bio so that people can fill out some questions like for private lending if they'd like to get involved or if they have additional questions. So I'm going to be launching that hopefully in the next week or so. But yeah, mostly that's where I'm at. And the most active I would say is Instagram at the moment.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, definitely, it looks like the social media has helped you raise some capital and kept you relevant. And,
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome that it's working out for you. So you can reach her there. And I really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Until next, guys, we'll see you on the next episode.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.